The Book of Exodus, Chapter 22, from the Sunday School Bible. Copyright, The Sunday School Bible, LLC, 2025. All rights reserved. 1446 BC. God's judgments continued. Laws for killing ox or sheep. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. If a thief steals an ox or a sheep, and kills it or sells it, the thief will restore it to its owner, 5 oxen for the 1 ox, and 4 sheep for the 1 sheep. Laws for burglary. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. If a thief is found breaking into a place during the night, and the person who discovers the thief strikes him so hard that the thief dies, there will be no guilt for the blood shed from the thief's death. Note, in Exodus 22:2, the Hebrew Bible uses the word blood guilt instead of bloodshed. Other Bibles use the word guilt only. Therefore, to make this statement a little easier to understand, the SSB will use the phrase, no guilt for the blood shed. End of note. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. But if a thief is found breaking into a place during the daylight hours, and the person who discovers the thief strikes him so hard that the thief dies, the person who struck the thief will be guilty of murder, and there will be blood shed because the thief's blood was shed. Note, in Exodus 22:3, the King James Version states, quote, "There shall be blood shed for him," end of quote. The New King James Version states, quote, "There shall be guilt for his bloodshed," end of quote. The Douay-Rheims 1899 American edition states, quote, "He hath committed murder, and he shall die," end of quote. The New Living Translation states, quote, "The one who killed the thief is guilty of murder," end of quote. Therefore, to make this statement a little easier to understand, the SSB will use the phrase, quote, "The person who struck the thief will be guilty of murder, and there will be blood shed because the thief's blood was shed," end of quote. End of note. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. But if a thief is found breaking into a place and is caught, the thief will make full restitution by paying for everything he stole. If the thief has nothing, then he will be sold to make full restitution for the items he stole. If the thief steals an ox, donkey, or sheep, and the animal is found alive with the thief will restore double to the animal's owner. Laws for animals eating in another man's field. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. If a man allows his animals to feed in another man's field, causing the field or vineyard to be eaten, the animal's owner will make restitution from the best of his own field and from the best of his own vineyard. Laws for arson. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. If a fire breaks out, catching the thorn bushes on fire and spreads quickly, causing the stacks of corn, the standing corn, or the field to be consumed, he that kindled the fire will make restitution. Laws for stealing. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. If a man gives to his neighbor for safekeeping money or other items, and those items are stolen from the neighbor's house, if the thief is found, the thief will pay double. If the thief is not found, then the neighbor will be brought to the judges, and they will determine whether the neighbor stole the money or items. Laws for all manner of trespass and disputes. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. For all manner of trespass, whether it is for an ox, donkey, sheep, clothing, or for any manner of lost things which another person claims to be his, the cause of both parties will go before the judges, and whomever the judges condemn will pay double to his neighbor. If a man delivers to his neighbor to keep a donkey, ox, sheep, or any beast, and it dies, gets hurt, or is driven away without anyone seeing who caused it to happen, the neighbor must take an oath of the Lord that he did not cause the incident, thereby ensuring the Lord is between the owner of the animal and the neighbor. Then the owner of the animal will accept the neighbor's innocence. But if the animal was stolen from the neighbor will make restitution to the owner. But if the animal was torn in pieces by another animal, the neighbor must take the animal's body back to the animal's owner for witnessing, and then the neighbor will not have to pay restitution for the animal. If a man borrows his neighbor's animal, and it gets hurt or dies when the owner was not with it, the neighbor will pay back the owner the price of the animal. But if the owner was with the animal at the time of the incident, the man who borrowed the animal will not pay the owner for the loss of the owner's animal. But if the owner hired out the animal, the money paid for the business transaction covers the loss of the animal. Laws for premarital sexual behavior. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. If a man entices a virgin who is not engaged and has sexual intercourse with her, he will pay the price of a bride to her family for her to be his wife. If her father refuses to give her to the man must pay the family according to the bride price of virgins. Laws for witches and sorcerers. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. You must not allow a person to live who practices sorcery or witchcraft. Note, in Exodus 22:18, the Hebrew Bible uses the term kashafa, which means to practice sorcery or witchcraft. However, the King James Version uses the statement, quote, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live," end of quote. While other Bibles use the term witch and or sorceress. Therefore, the SSB will use the Hebrew meaning to practice sorcery or witchcraft to ensure clarity as to whom God is speaking. End of note. Laws for someone who has sex with animals. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. Whosoever has sexual intercourse with an animal must be put to death. Laws for sacrificing to any other god. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. He who sacrifices to any god, except to the Lord only, will be utterly destroyed. Laws for mistreating strangers and foreigners. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. You must not mistreat a stranger, because you were strangers in the land of Egypt. You must not oppress a stranger, because you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Laws for causing problems for widows and orphans. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. You must not cause problems for any widow. You must not cause problems for any orphan. If you afflict a widow or an orphan in any way, and they cry at all to me, I will surely hear their cry. My anger will become hot. I will kill you with the sword. Your wives will become widows. Your children will become fatherless. Laws for lending. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. If you lend money to any of my people that are poor among you, you must not act like a money lender to him. Neither will you charge him interest. If you take your neighbor's clothing as collateral for a loan, you must give the clothing back to your neighbor by sunset. You must do this because the clothing is your neighbor's covering only. It is his clothing for his skin. What else will he sleep in? And when he cries to me, I will hear, because I am gracious. Law for dishonoring God. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. You must not dishonor God. Law for cursing authority. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. You must not curse the ruler of your people. Laws for making offerings to God. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. You must not hold back offerings to me. From the first of your ripe fruits, from the first of your liquors, you must give to me your firstborn male children. Likewise, you must offer me the firstborn male of your oxen, and you must offer me the firstborn male of your sheep. The oxen or sheep must be with its mother for 7 days. You must give the oxen or sheep to me on the 8th day. Laws for eating animals that are killed by other animals. The Lord continued speaking to Moses. You must be holy people to me. You must not eat any flesh that is torn by beasts in the field. You must cast it to the dogs. Note, in Exodus 22:31, the King James Version uses the term men, where the Lord states, quote, you must be holy men to me, end of quote. The Hebrew Bible uses the term anshi, which means people. Therefore, the SSB will use the Hebrew meaning, people, to clarify to whom God is speaking, meaning the people, male and female, in general must be holy to God. End of note.